Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Janmadhyasya Yatunmayaditarasya Artheshva Bhignaswarat Tene Brahmarudhaya Adikavaye Muhyantiyam Surayah Tejo Vari Mrudam Yatha Vinimayah Yatrattu Sargo Mrisha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. This is the invocation, first sloka of the Bhagavata. And in the last week, we discussed about the background of Bhagavat, who started and who continued further, kind of thing. The Narada discussion with Vyasa Maharshi and all those things, we looked into that. So the first skanda contains 19 chapters, as I mentioned. So we covered almost all of that, though we could not go in detail. The intention is to cover as much as possible. So some gist of that we covered. In the second skanda, it is the 10 chapters are there, and number of slokas are less, but the concept is so deep and very intense concept they talk. If you look at the first skanda, it is more of story, who created and what happened, like when the Suta Puranika came to the Naimisharanya to meet Shaunakadi Rishis, and there they started the discussion, and what happened with Narada and between Vyasa, and all those things was storyline. So entire Bhagavata is stories of nested stories. One discussion starts and then it leads to the another discussion and then it takes to the another. It is a beautiful way of telling a story. The beauty in Indian philosophy or Hindu philosophy is they communicate so much moral values and ethical values in the form of stories, and they're using symbolism and all those things. So that we saw in the Canto 1. Canto means Skanda 1 with 19 different chapters. So I just brushed up on that day to complete all the 19 chapters. But today I may not be able to complete the 10 chapters of Skanda 2, means Skanda 1 with 19 different chapters. So I just brushed up on that day to complete all the 19 chapters. But today I may not be able to complete the 10 chapters of Skanda 2 because there are some points I felt I need to go through. Maybe it will be done in two different days. Anyway, the background was Parikshita Raja committed a mistake insulting Shaumika Rishi, and Shaumika Rishi's son Shrungi gave the sharp to him. He said that he will die within a week. Then, without any troublesome, so Parikshit decided he should do Pravapesh Rata. That means leave out everything and just concentrate on what is the right thing to do when he knows that he's going to die, kind of thing. That's where he came to Naimisharanya and he started sitting with the rishis. And it's so beautiful that when everything, intentions are right and everything is right, and the right guru shows up. That's what happened with in case of Parikshit Raj. When he is there discussing with this rishis, there appears Shukamuni. Then Shukamuni is the one who directly explained Bhagavata to Parikshit Raj. That is the beauty. If we also see in our life, if we do anything with very good intention and with full efforts, results will show up without any errors. That means that is all Bhagavanta's way of giving the results. That you must have experience in your life. If you just sit for half an hour and check what things happened in your life, you see some miracles showing up in our lives. Everybody has this experience. So now there is one more sloka in Bhagavat which talks about Shukamuni when he explained Bhagavata to Parikshit Raj. They say this was like there is a third. I'm talking about the third poem of Skanda 1. Nigama kalpatarur galitam phalam shukhamukad amruta sayutam pivata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhuravo rasika bhuvi bhavukaha. This is the explanation of what is Bhagavata in one sloka. This is very beautiful, meaningful sloka, because this is told by Shukamuni. They say Bhagavata is the matured fruit of the desire tree of Vedas, and it emanated from the lips of Shukamuni. That means it is bit by Shuka. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although it is content is nectar. It is not the actual fruit of anything. It is a fruit of gist of Vedas, and it is a juice. So everyone should enjoy, relish by drinking this juice. That means it is a fruit, but not, you are not going to eat, because it's already a nectar. And it is not one time. You should keep drinking this every time, every day, kind of thing. So that means this is the gist of all the Vedas, and all the Puranas and all the things are put in the Bhagavatam. This is a beautiful sentence about Bhagavata that I like very much. So now, then Shukamuni starts Bhagavata with Parikshit Raj. So I did mention that there are two questions that Parikshit Raj is asking Shukamuni. Number one question was, how one should lead the life when he gets a Manava Janma. What should he lead? How should be the life? Then second question was, what one should do when he knows the death is near. These are the two questions we stopped at that point. And Shukamuni starts with the first one, answering the first one. He says, there is in Kannada poem, there is the Dasarayar who says, Manava Janma Doddadu ida hani madali bedi huchappa kalida. So in the evolution process of the Atmas, this is the last stage that is for Manava Janma. I'm talking about not Devatas or Ganas like other Pitrugana, Devata Gana, and there are so many Gandharva, all those things. That is a different case. If you are born as a Manava, that is the last stage where it expects you to attain the evolution of the consciousness. Do not waste. This is the most valuable thing you got in life. So he says, do not waste. That is the first sentence he says, Chitta Shuddhi and Jivana Uddhara exercises you have to do. And do not get lost. I'm taking only a few lines of his advisors. I'm not talking all the things they mention. And second thing he talks about, do not get lost in the mundane life. When we born, we have all those things, purusharthas to perform. That includes the dharma, artha, kama, moksha kind of things. In that process, just don't get lost into the mundane life, like earning, eating, and enjoying the life, right? There is one more dimension to the life. That is the evolution process of your consciousness. Be aware of that. That is the second message he gives. Then he says the very technique of doing that is thinking about the bigger thing than you. Think about the creator. Creator has multi-dimensional creator. He's not a simple one, a president or something. He is multi-dimensional. Ananta Guna Paripurna. He's all the natures are. He is perfect in all the things. So think about him who is bigger than you. Let us call him as Bhagavan, right? You think about him and think about his nature, think about his activities, other than the mundane things you do on your daily life. So this is live in an awareness life kind of thing. Then there's another one important point is any duties you perform without expectations. This may sound arguable thing, but actually all of us who are doing that we expect results, but we know we don't get the expected result. So don't have to expect. Don't expect and feel unhappy, right? So if you don't expect, do the duty and leave the results to the Bhagavan. The way it has to happen will happen. But if you do it with awareness of, without expectation, that is the beauty that you will enjoy. That your you will not have much sorrow in the life. So whatever is going to happen will happen, but do not get out of the duty. That the entire Bhagavad Gita is based on this concept. Karmanye madhikaraste ma phaleshu kadasam. So this is one sentence he said. Do your duty. Do not expect the results the way in a particular way or something. Then he also talks about Swadharma sadhana. That means perform the duties that you are supposed to do. Swadharma means it is not any religion or anything. It's the manava dharma. How a human being should be in this environment. How we should take care of rest of the things. How humble we should be. All those things he talks about. Then overall he says the question was what one should do when he is born as a human being with awareness, consciousness, what one should do, how he should lead life. The overall gist of this is be prepared for the beautiful death. This entire life is preparation for the beautiful death. Some of you may argue, what is this death and beautiful? They are oxymoron, right? They are totally opposite things. Why it is called beautiful death? So if anyone interested, I wrote an article in Sangaman almost 10 years back about Sundara Savu, that is in Kannada. So I compared what is beautiful in that, right? So if you get a chance, read it. I try to put together all the things there. So anyway, entire life, what Shukamuni says is entire life is preparation for the beautiful death. So start doing that and enjoy the life the way it offers you. Plus, be prepared for that. The be prepared for the beautiful death means what? Santatam chintayanantam antakale visheshataha. You do not know, the person do not know when he is going to die. So keep thinking about Bhagavan all the time. You don't know when you are going to die. So antakale visheshataha. At the end, he will give his awareness to you. Otherwise, so many things we do in our life, when the death comes, we don't even think of God. So then whatever the people say, whatever you think at the last moment of the last breath, that will happen in the future. If you think of something else, that will take you to that life. That's what nature gives the response. And there's a beautiful story in Bhagavata. I'll anyway talk about that in future, about Jadabharata. Jadabharata was born earlier as a sage. He always thinks of a deer, his pet that he was having. Then he becomes a deer. He becomes a deer in the next life. So that's how we should prepare ourselves on a daily basis, on a every hourly basis or any minute basis, thinking about the presence of great thing within us, the Creator within us. Then when we are at the verge of death, he may bless us about his wisdom. Then we may get out of this cycle that is called moksha, right? So he talks about all those things. Then the question that Parikshita Raja had, this is answer to all the first question. Another thing he was asking, I have only 7 days, can I achieve? Then Shukamuni also mentions, don't worry, whatever the time you have. So we shall not worry about the past, what we did so far. Let us think about the future. He says, it happened so with Katwang Raj in Treta Yuga. Then he talks about that story. Katwang is the Surya Raj. If you go back to the Treta Yuga and the Mahabharata story, that is Dwapar Yuga stories, Treta Yuga is full of Surya Vamsha stories. Dwapar Yuga is full of Chandra Vamsha stories, Krishna, Yadava, and other Chandra Vamsha stories. During the Surya Vamsha dynasty, I can call it as a Treta Yuga, there were so many emperors, very high caliber kings were there, like Bhagiratha was there, Dilipa was there, Prithu was there. So Katwang is one of the Raja of that time. He comes in that dynasty. So Katwanga, if you remember Dasharatha's story in Treta Yuga, Dasharatha also used to go to Devalok and fight for fight for gods against demons, that's Rakshasas. So that means there was a mechanism where the Manavas from the earth used to enter into the Devalok and do support them. So he is also one of them. Katwang also used to do that. So for the young adults who have not come from the India but born and brought up here, it may look confusing how one can enter into Devalok. What is this? I'm talking about it is a metaphysics, right? There is a possibility that there is another dimension existing and there must be a portal and people can enter there. If you think of David Cameron's Avatar story, movie that you have seen, Avatar movie, there is another world called Pandora, and there is another kind of living beings called Navis, right? In that, this hero from the earth, he goes to that Pandora by getting into some box kind of thing, a meditation kind of thing, and he goes there. If you have seen that movie, same thing. There are so many Hollywood serials and movies. They talk about there is the existence of a portal through which you enter into the another realm, another world. That is, now if I correlate that with this Treta Yoga stories, where people used to go to the Devalok and fight and come back and have support and come back, maybe attend some meetings and come back. They used to do that. Even in case of Dwapar Yuga also, Arjuna goes to get Pashupatastra to Shiva. Something, there are so many stories like people enter into the Devalok and come back. So like that, I wanted to just relate it to the young adults that there is a possibility in future. Maybe now also some meditative minds must be going there. So we don't know. So there is a possibility of metaphysics that there is a portal that people can go there, either through the yoga or something else. So we shall not get lost in their discussion. But coming back to the Katwanga story, Katwanga Maharaj, because of he performed so many yagnas and he qualified to enter into the Devalok, they invited him because there the valor required is not the physical, this one, it is a mental power. So there they invited him to fight against the Asuras. He went and he helped them. So many times he did this. So one time, while he coming back, Devata Gana was very happy about him. And they said, hey, is there anything we can help you? We can offer you. And this guy was so happy. Katwang was so happy. And he said, I have one question. How long I'm going to live? So this question came to his mind because Devatas wanted to help him. One of the Devata answers to him saying, hey, this is the right question you asked. Unfortunately, you are going to live for only one muhurta of earth. The timings between Devata timings are different and earth timings are different. This also we talk about this time calculations in third chapter, third canto. But they say that you are going to live one muhurta of your earth time zone, right? Then this guy gets, oh my God, what should I do? Now it is only 1 muhurta is 24 minutes, only 24 minutes left. They say, don't worry, you have done so good things, so many nice things. There is a lot of time to attain moksha. You have done enough. The best thing to do is go back to the karma sadhana has to be done in the same dharma. You have born as a human being, so you have to do that human being dharma. Go back to earth and perform all the things that you need to do. So 12 minutes, it takes for him 12 minutes to come to earth. Remaining 12 minutes, he completely dedicates himself thinking of Omkara Siddhi and he attains and he gets out of the cycle of Bhavaroga, that is birth and rebirth, kind of birth and death. So that's how he attains moksha. So it was, I think it was in the past, it was easy to attain moksha because of the mindset was like that. I'm talking about Treta Yoga time frame. So anyway, this is what is communicated to Parikshit Raj by Shukamuni, that do not worry, even 12 minutes was sufficient for Katwang Raj. You have 7 days and I am here to talk to you about the wonderful thing that one should always know, that is Bhagavata. So that is why Bhagavata was created by Vyasa Maharshi to help the people who are interested in attaining moksha by reading or by listening to Bhagavata on a daily basis. So the second question of Parikshit Raj is what one should do when he knows he is going to die. Right? What one should do for that. So then he lays down 6 steps. Of course, there are so many chapters in this, but I took only 6 of them are more meaningful and that can be discussed here. The one is keeping control of the mind, manoniyantrana. Then Omkara Dhyana. So manoniyantrana means we have seen this happening, right? Even on daily basis, mind is so volatile, it keeps on moving around, doing this, that, and all those things. And we totally forget the existence of the God in us. So that's what Shukamuni says. This Bhagavan, about whom we should always think, he exists in us and in Brahmand. He is Anur Aniyan Mahato Mahiyan. He is part of the smallest small of the part, that is Anu. He is also part of the biggest of the big, that is entire universe. He is spread across all these things. In the Vishnu Sahasranam and other places we say he has Sahasra Bhavu and all those things. That is the explanation of that. So anyway, he says, do not forget about his existence in you. Always control your mind. Whenever you do anything, be attached to this source so that whatever you do will be submitted to him. Any work you do, you think, there is 2 things, right? One is paravidya, aparavidya, right? One is which takes you towards God and which does not take away from God. Bhagavan, we can say. So all the things we do, if it leads to Bhagavan, that is the real Dharma we are doing. If anything we are doing, if it is taking away from the Bhagavan, that is not the thing to be done. Keep this in mind. That's what he says. Then another thing he talks about is the way to attain this kind of mindset is chanting Omkar. Omkar Siddhi can be done by practicing Omkara Dhyana, which includes U, Ma, which are the 3 starting letters of Rigveda, Yajurveda, and Samaveda. So all 3 things, he explains about what is Omkara Siddhi, how to do and all those things. Then also he talks, when you are chanting about Omkara, you should remember the Virata Swarup of Bhagavan. It's called Virata Purusha. So Virata Purusha, he is existing in Akasha, he is existing in Vayu, he is existing in Agni, he is existing in Jala, Bhumi. He is also part of the Ahankara Tattvas and all those things he talks about. 7 Tattvas total he talks about. Then he says, this is the way one should practice on daily basis and believe that he exists in all the animals, all the persons. The enemy of you also has the Bhagavan. So this is a beautiful concept. This is so intense philosophy he gives in this canto. How to this enter second skanda itself, he is sufficient. If we read through or if you learn thoroughly, is sufficient to lead a quality life. That he gives all those activities, and he says the creation of the earth, the way people behave, the things happen, it is all the pastime for Bhagavan. It is all leela of him. So don't be attached so much. If something goes wrong, it is because of him. He's thinking to do in this way, he's doing that way, but it is not. So there is a poem in one of the Dasa stories, Inna chittake bandudu yanna chittake barali. He says he surrenders to God, but this is one of the devotees surrenders to God, and he says, I don't expect different results of the things happening in the world. Only thing I expect is whatever you think, let me think the same, so that I don't have the difference in my expectation and get the wrong results. So same thing in the Bhagavata, they talk about this. You should always align with the creator in you. Then also he talks about, Shukamuni mentions about the nishtha, the commitment. You just do not do the Virata Purusha, thinking about him, or the Omkara sadhana. Just do not do like another job, right? Do it with nishtha. That is what it takes you to the next level in the evolution process. So I recently heard Osho mentioning, when he says, when you decide to get liberation, he talks about realization. When you decide, then it happens. Most of the times people do not decide. Total people do not commit. Whether the result, this happens today or tomorrow or maybe after 10 lifetime, don't worry. But the commitment is important. So that is the way, that's what is mentioned in Bhagavata also. Commitment, sadhaka, nishtha is very important in sadhana. Then he talks about most important thing, do not do your bhakti or your dana or your puja or anything you do in this process of evolution, that in this process of attaining moksha, do not do to show off. Bahaya adambara is not at all should be there. Most of the times we do all the things because we want to show off. Then Bhagavata says, if you do that, there is no positive result of that. If anybody is donating for showing off, writing a check just to put their name in the stone or something like that, we do all these things, right? None of us are away from these things. We always do these things. Our knowledge we show off, our everything we try to show off, because that is how is the life world. So he says, do not do that. That is the killer of all our sadhana. Then he talks about, think of Divya Swarupa of Bhagavan. Bhagavan is always helping us to evolve. He is the gardener of the entire universe. You are a seed. He is sowing you and putting the water and allowing the light. Everything is allowing you to evolve. So please think of him. He is the one helping you. Then he also talks about talks about how a human being exits his life at the end after doing all these sadhanas. This is he's talking about how a person who knows that he's going to die in 7 days, what he should do. So he's telling all these steps, and also he says when the end comes, how you should exit. That is called Shat Chakra Bhedana. There are 7 chakras in our body, and most of you know all those things. The Sahasrara is the topmost. Mooladhara is there at the bottom. Sahasrara is at the topmost, which is a little away from the body. That is, they say it is 12 inch above the thing, above the head, Brahmarandra. Anyways, he talks about that also. You should take from Mooladhara, where we, at this point, we do not know where is our conscious level. Some are in the Mooladhara, but more highly sexual oriented point. Then it comes to the Adhisthana, and then Manipura, and all those different chakras. Maybe sadhaka at a certain point, most of the day, he may be at a point where it is, energy is, only thing is we have to bring that energy from bottom up towards to the highest chakra level. Then when it comes to the Sahasrara, it has to go through that Brahmarandra point. So people who are doing, who can perform this sadhana continuously and think of Bhagavan Swarupa and do the duties in a right manner, continue their doing dharma, and when the right time comes, they come to know. I've seen people like this. The people come to know their death is nearing. Then they said, I have seen them, of course, I did not see their life going through the head. I saw them completely rejecting everything, and then they just leave the body. That's what in the Bhagavata says, it goes through the Shat Chakra process and it gets out of the Sahasrara. The people go in this direction. They, of course, Bhagavata talks about 2 more points there. There is a Dhumadigati and Archiradigati. There are 2 ways. people who perform bhakti will get into these two ways when they get into when they travel. So there is another Purana called Garuda Purana, which talks about all these things in very detailed. Then he talks about Adhidevata Aradhane, all those things one should perform. And after all these things, Parikshit Raj has two more questions. So Parikshit Raj is going to ask those questions that lead into Shrushti Kriya Varnani and Avatara Varnani. So that happens in the same same canto, that is Skanda. The next part of what are those two questions Parikshit Raja is asking, then what is the Sushti Varnani, how the Sushti Kriya happened, and how of course, third chapter also covers this, the third canto also covers this, and these are very detailed. In case of the Avatara Varnani, Shukamuni goes through a list of avatars that Bhagavan took during the one kalpa. That is around 22 avatars he talks about. And also he talks about the 14 lokas where the Bhagavan exists. Bhagavan, if it is not a one person, right? Is an energy. If you think he exists in all the 14 lokas. He talks about Bhuloka, Bhuloka, Swargaloka. We talk about Om Bhur Bhuhaswaha in our Sandhya Vandane. Like that, he talks about three lokas: Maharloka, Tapaloka, Janoloka, Satyaloka, where the Brahma exists. Atala, then the lower level things: Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, Patala, like this. So Bhagavan exists as a Purusha in all these levels, with his center point being in Bhuloka, that is Nabhi part, and the Kati Pravesha is in Bhuloka, Rudhaya is in Swargaloka, Vakshasthala is in Maharloka, like that, Kanta is in Janaloka, Shirassu is in Satyaloka, that is head. So the reason he talks about all these things is consider yourself as all that lokas. During you do Omkara sadhana, go through this entire meditation process of thinking yourself as a universe, your head being in Satyaloka, and all the other parts are different lokas, right? All the 14 lokas. And legs being in like Vitala, Sutala, and knees in the Talatala, and kind of all those things. Like this is the entire meditation process he talks about, how to perform this entire sadhana, Omkara sadhana, he talks about there. Then also when we do Omkara sadhana, we touch our things, like we touch our nose, then touch our eyes, saying that there are devatas, like he talks about so many devatas existing in the body. So these are the sadhana. If anyone interested in doing this sadhana, we should look in very detail and start performing. That will help us our sadhana process. Then when he talks about the avatars of the this kalpa, he talks about Varaha Avatara, Suyagna Avatara, Kapila Avatara, Dattatreya Avataras, and Prithu is also Avatara of Bhagavan, and Rishabhadeva, and then Hayagriva. Rishabhadeva is the Jaina Muni. If you have come across, if you have happened to be Jain temple, there will be Jaina Muni's thing. That is Rishabhadeva is one of the Bhagavan Avatara. Hayagriva Avatara, Matsya Avatara, Kurma Avatara, Narasimha Avatara, Gajendra Moksha Avatara, Gajendra Avatara, Vamana Avatara, Hamsa Avatara, Dhanvantari Avatara, Parshuram Avatara, and Rama Avatara, Krishna Avatara, Vedavyasa Avatara, Bauddha Avatara, and Kalki, the last one. So why I mentioned about this is, in our mindset, most of us think there are only Dashavataras. It's not like that. Bhagavan has taken different avatars whenever it is needed. When it is needed, nobody can perform this work. He appears in the form of some are dominant, like Kapila Avatara, most of us may not know. Kapila Avatar is the one, we talk about that in third canto. Kapila Avatar is one. He comes and talks about Sankhya Shastra to his mother. His mother, when she asked her husband, his Rishi, to give me knowledge, he says, oh, no, you will get a wonderful son, and I will make sure Bhagavan will be born. There is a story behind it. Anyway, I am going to talk about those interesting stories and the symbolism behind that, and all those things when we come to that part of the Bhagavat. Just to give a example, this Kapila Avatara is just to come and help his mother to attain the moksha. The only job was that. Then during that time he gives the Sankhya Shastra, and there is one more. There is the question and answer session between mother and son. Beautiful questions and answers. Maybe sometimes if we find a time, we can just dedicate a discussion to the Sankhya Kapila Sandesh, Kapila Muni Sandesh. That is a different topic we can cover. So like that, he gives, Shukamuni says, Bhagavan took so many avatars just to make sure all that he created attain the realization, self-realization or God realization, or totally exist, attain the moksha. So all these things he talks about. Then only 10 we consider as major Dashavataras. Then those 10 are already discussed in the Bhagavata in detail. For example, 6th chapter contains Narasimha Avatara, like Prahlada Avatara shows up somewhere. So one most interesting and most important point we should think now is, this calculation of time is there in Bhagavata, but in these one kalpa has happened, right? In the entire kalpa is one unit of time. There are so many yugas, so many maha yugas kind of thing. I will give you the exact calculation of each yuga and each kalpa, each Mahayuga and all those things when we come to that point in third canto. What I wanted to drive here is, though we talk about so many avatars, Bhagavata does not contain story of one kalpa. It contains the stories of different kalpas. We are in the 28th Kali Yuga of Vaivaswata Manvantara. Manvantara is one of the 70 Manvantaras of a kalpa. And out of that, there are so many yugas, Mahayugas. After that, there are so many yugas. So we are in the, if you remember if anybody is doing the Sandhya Vandana, you know, Vaivaswat Manvantare, Patam Varse, Patamapade, Bharatakande, like that we say, right? That we are referencing to the point, Sri Shweta Maha Varaha Kalpe, then like that we talk about, right? Kalpa, Manvantara. These stories, they picked from different kalpas, different Manvantaras. The Ramayana story that comes in our Bhagavata Puran is not from this Manvantara. It happened in somewhere back. Varaha story that comes in Bhagavata Puran is not from this kalpa. It happened somewhere in the past kalpas. That's why they say Varaha Kalpe. There is one Varaha Kalpe, one is Shweta Varaha Kalpa, that is a white boar. Then there was another Varaha Kalpa, that is black boar. So that means Varaha Avatara happened twice. Like that, there are so many complicated things. They make it simple by bringing those stories from different yugas and put together as Dashavatar. So that's what he talks about. Then Parikshita has 2 questions. Let us stop here and find out what are those 2 questions Parikshita has asked, and what are the answers from Shukamuni. So that will be in the next meeting. Of course, we continue the Canto 2 because there are so many concepts that we should discuss before we get out of this canto 2. So I took that liberty to do into 2 parts. Thank you. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu.
Thank you, Anil. It was, again, it took us all to a new level here, different sphere. The article about beautiful death in Kannada that you had,